Good evening. I hereby call to order the July 28th, 2021 meeting of the Gaithersburg Historic District Commission. For the record, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being remotely telecast, so please bear with any of the bumps in the road that we may encounter. For our roll call, please answer present when I call your name. Planner 2, Chris Berger.
Present.
Deputy City Attorney Frank Johnson.
Present.
Alternate Commissioner Olivier Cote.
Present.
Commissioner Mark Feinstein.
Present.
Commissioner Rudy Morgan.
Present.
Commissioner and Vice Chairman John Roddy.
Present.
And myself, Commissioner and Chairman Dee Mantola says present. We have a quorum, and Commissioner Cote's role tonight is as a full commissioner. Next is our preliminary statement, which is as follows. This commission is empowered to meet and act under Article 12 of the City Code of Gaithersburg. The technical qualifications of the staff of this commission and the members of this commission are on file with the City of Gaithersburg, are available on request to any applicant, and are hereby made a part of the legal record of each and every application heard today. Each application heard today is considered on its own merits and is not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. Okay, does anyone have any conflicts of interest for any application being heard tonight? If so, please raise your hand, verbally indicate so. And I see and hear no one. Okay, so next on our agenda, we have introductory remarks, which I now turn over to Chris Berger.
So we have a very special guest tonight, City Manager Tanisha Briley. And before she gives her remarks, I'd like to give a brief introduction. City Manager Briley joined the city last September. She has a bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's of public administration. She also has a certificate in local urban management and completed both the Senior Executives in State and Local Government program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government and the National Forum for Black Public Administrators Mentor Program. Shortly after she started with the city, she was selected as a fellow in the National Academy of Public Administration. Before moving to Gaithersburg, she was the city manager of Cleveland Heights, Ohio for 7 years. And prior to that, she rose through the ranks at the city of Davenport, Iowa, before she became its city assistant city administrator. So now I'll turn it over to our city manager, Tanisha Briley. Welcome.
Chris, thank you so much for the introduction. I appreciate that. Thank you all for having me this evening. I know you have business to get to, and I don't want to keep you from that, but this has been my opportunity to make my way through the city virtually, meeting all of our wonderful volunteers, givers of your time and treasure to the city through our committees, commissions, and boards. And so tonight you get me. These are pretty informal, and obviously I want to be mindful and respectful of your time. So since Chris shared a little bit about my background, I don't need to do that. I'd love to get to know you all a little bit better. So Chair, if it's okay, if everyone could just take a moment and introduce themselves to me. I'd love to hear about what you do in the daytime when you're not moonlighting with us here at night, and anything else that you'd like to tell me. I'm open to that and really looking forward to working more closely with you all and getting to know you a little bit better. So thanks again for having me.
Okay, well, I'll go through our list. I'll call everybody, but I'll start out first. First of all, welcome. You have an extremely impressive resume, and I think that we're very proud to have you join the Gaithersburg team. So welcome to you. For me, I'm simply just an architect during the day, and I also moonlight as an architect. I got to pay the bills somehow. So next then, Planner Chris Berger, if you can go next and just tell her something, tell her your thoughts.
I'll skip staff. We'll go on to the commission.
Okay, all right. So then Commissioner Cote.
Hello, Tricia. Welcome. My name is Olivier Cote. During the day, I'm Vice President Research and Development in a small company here in Ivesville. And actually, this is my second meeting. I just became alternate commissioner as of last month for the Historic District Commission. I actually live in the Brookes, Russell, and Walker district here in Gaithersburg. And I just hope to make a little difference here. on those meetings. So welcome again.
Okay, Mark?
Hi, welcome. I'm Mark Feinstein. I'm also an architect by day. Lived in the Gaithersburg city for now, I guess, 15 years. Originally from Silver Spring, Maryland, and been on the HDC now for, I guess, since it became HDC from HVAC, which was what, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I can't remember exactly.
It's
when.
almost 11, I think.
Yeah. So look forward to meeting you in person one day, hopefully soon.
Yes.
Okay, great. Rudy?
Welcome. My name is Rudy Morgan. During the day, I am a same project manager with the government, the federal government, General Services Administration. I provide support for design and construction for the Food and Drug Administration in Silver Spring. And basically, and during the evening, once a month, this is where I moonlight. And I look forward to working with you. Nice meeting you, and welcome again.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thanks. John?
John Roddy, I do welcome you, Miss Briley. I would say parenthetically, both my parents were from Cleveland Heights,
Oh my gosh.
way before you were born.
Wow.
I'm a retired attorney, and for 47 years, I've lived in an 1880s American Foursquare that's 2 doors away from City Hall.
That's incredible. I've probably walked by then you're here several times.
Probably have.
Excellent.
But he still calls in when sick when there's snow days.
I have learned that's a hallmark of this region that I've relocated to, right? None of us do much of anything when there's the hint of snow. Thank you all for sharing a little bit of time again with me this evening. I was so sorry I couldn't make the tour with you. I was looking forward to touring with you. Got called into a last minute thing from the mayor, which, you know, got to respond when the mayor calls. So that's what I do. It has been an incredible transition to this community. You all serve the community, so I don't have to tell you what a wonderful place it is. And so it has made my transition extremely easy. What's really helped, though, is the incredible staff that I've been privileged to inherit and work alongside. The mayor and council have been such a pleasure to work with and to work for. And I am extremely excited about what's on the horizon for us here in the community. So many big things happening, and your commission will have a strategic role in all of that. So I think we'll have a lot of opportunities to interact in person, likely at some point. And I really do look forward to that. So with that, Mr. Chair, I don't really have much else. I'm open to any Q&A if anybody has any questions for me, or if you have time for that. I'll
We
obviously.
do. If anybody has any questions, just throw them in, just jump right in. Okay, I see and hear no one.
Okay.
Okay, well, again, welcome, and we're delighted to have you as part of the team. So I'll move on to the most important part of our day. It's the minutes. So next we have approval of minutes from our June 23rd meeting. Does any commissioner have any corrections or additions to the minutes? If so, please raise your hand and verbally indicate so. And I hear and see no one. Okay, so I'll just make the motion to adopt the minutes as written. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll go through the roll call. Please say aye if you support the motion, nay if you don't, or abstain if you wish. Commissioner Cote,
Aye.
Commissioner Feinstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan,
Aye.
Commissioner Roddy,
Aye.
Commissioner Ventola says aye. So that is 5-0. Okay, motion passes. Next then is we have 2 courtesy reviews. Please note that the members of the public will be invited to participate. First up is AFP -8975-2021, which is to satisfy a condition of approval for final site plan application for property located at 315 East Diamond Avenue. May we have an introduction from staff?
Good evening, tech team. Can I please have packet page number 9, please? So good evening. This is a courtesy review for the property located at 315 East Diamond Avenue as shown on the screen. This application is before the Historic District Commission because the property is located in the Old Town Courtesy Review area pursuant to section 22-227.4. The Historic District Commission may review and make recommendations to the Planning Commission on applications for site development plan approvals. The applicant submitted an amendment to final site plan application AFP-8975-2020 to satisfy condition approval number 6 for final site plan application SP-7805-2017. On April 4th, 2018, the Planning Commission approved final site plan application for the construction of a 6-story mixed-use building, which includes 5-story multifamily apartments, 8,663 square feet of ground floor retail, and an associated 3-level parking garage. Condition number 6 stated that the applicant must submit a separate site plan amendment for the final bud car location, final west garage elevation, and area to be reviewed by the Historic District Commission and approved by the Planning Commission prior to issuance of permits. I do want to note that the mixed-use building was reviewed by the HDC on March 26th of 2018, prior to the Planning Commission's final recommendation. Originally, the bud car location was intended to be reviewed prior to the submission of the final site plan application for the mixed-use building. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and therefore that's why that condition was added. On May 23rd of 2018, the HDC approved historic area work permit HIST-7867-2018 for the relocation of the bud car, which was after the final site plan application approval. So the purpose of this review is for HDC to look at the bud car plans and the west elevation plans. And I will have Kevin Ash, who's a developer of the application, to kind of go over some of the minor changes that was made since final site plan approval. And tech team, can I have the next page, please? Okay, you go ahead, Kevin.
You're on mute. You're still on mute. There you go.
Hi now. Can you hear me now?
Yep, welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jasmine. Yes, as we've gone through this this process, there have been 6 different minor areas that we had to adjust throughout the plan. The first one was on the west elevation. There were some stairs at the end of the walkway. Those stairs were interrupting pedestrian access around the bud car and the caboose. So we eliminated those stairs. We also, we modified the railings on the west side of the pedestrian walkway to better match the railings that the city approved for the bud car decks. So all the railings in that view would match. So that was the second one. As we were working through the final, on the front elevation, as we were working through the different gradients and the doors along the retail, we introduced some plant beds to soften some of those, some of the foundation exposed areas. So we added a couple plant beds on that north elevation. Also, while we were locating the retail and residential lobby doors, we modified some of that storefront to better access the interior of the building. So there were some minor storefront changes there. Also, as we got into the full architectural design of the building, we needed to add a door for the sprinkler valve room, and also a door into the maintenance room on the front of the building. So those doors were added. On the west elevation, we just changed a window type to better light the bedrooms that are on that end. The original elevation, the windows just had to move to better align with the bedrooms inside. On the south elevation, in between the garage and the building, we have 4 flats in that location, and they're loft flats. Because they're behind the retail, they have very tall ceilings. So we added some windows to light the loft area of those bedrooms, and just align those doors. So just a minor modification there. And again, on the north elevation, we modified some of the storefront as well, which better correlated with the interior design of the building. So Jasmine, those are the 6 bullet points that were identified by staff of the modifications of the elevations.
Tech team, can I have the next page, please? So we can have the west elevation. There we go.
Yeah. So on that sheet, you can see the railings that were finally approved that match the Bud car railings. Also on the lower right, on the west elevation, there used to be stairs to the far right where the building stops and the garage starts. We eliminated those stairs because of pedestrian travel way coming out of the garage around the Bud car. It was constricting that flow. Next elevation, next slide, please. So on the south elevation, that's the elevation in between the garage and the building. The modification occurred at that first and second floor level. Those are the 4 loft apartments. On the north elevation down below, to the far left, you can see where the garage door is. The next 2 doors to the right are new doors that we added in. One is for the sprinkler valve room and one is for the maintenance room. And then as you scan to the right of the building elevation, you can see where that plant bed was introduced as the elevation steps down. Next slide, please. So those were all the points there, Jasmine.
Presentation's done. We're open for any question and answer this evening.
Well, next let's go to public, and then we'll go to the commission. Public is now invited to speak. To indicate that you want to make a comment, if you're on a computer or a laptop, move your mouse to the bottom center of the Zoom window, and you should see a raise hand button pop up. Click on that button and we can call on you. If you're dialing in on a telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand.
I see no one with their hand raised.
Okay, all right. Next, then we'll go to the commissioners. So when I call your name, please state your thoughts and questions for the applicant. Commissioner Cote.
Personally, I had, and I'm sorry, I'm late in the process here, and it's a little bit, but I had mainly 3 concerns about the modification, and I don't know if concern are discussed here or if it's just question at this point.
Anything you want. You can present your thoughts and questions.
Okay, because my only concern seeing that plan now, and it's again, it's late in the process, but was about moving the car itself and about the location of the car that was now sandwiched in between the caboose and a building, which would reduce the visibility and accessibility for people to see the plan. And I think that was one of the concern of moving that unit to the area that is proposed. There was also a concern about the floor retail area. And in that case, as a resident here, I don't have to remind us of what happened across the street in terms of flooring, and what I didn't see in the plan, or what was not answered in my question there is, has anything been done to ensure that we don't reproduce what happened across the street in terms of retail area for that building?
Explain that further for people who are
Give a
not familiar with
context.
the issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, and I don't know the full story, and the idea was that the building across the street also had a plan, some retail area at the first floor of the building, which was deemed not compatible, I think, with city guides, and those units were not populated and never used. And
Yeah, can I interject? My recollection, because that was one of the things I thought about. My recollection was, it wasn't that the city requested it not being retail. It was the building owners who said they were having trouble getting retailers to move in. So they requested the city to come before us, the HDC, and change the use. And of course, it was acceptable to us. So
Okay.
I don't think it was something the city wanted. It was something that the developers wanted. So I guess you may want to ask the question, Mr. Ash, does he have people lined up for that? But in the end, I'm not so sure that's part of our purview. I would imagine that they've done their studies that would believe it. Now, the other thing too is, and please forgive me for interjecting all this, I strongly support retail on ground level. I don't want to say reluctantly voted to allow the apartments on ground level, but I believe that we thought that the developer needed that to give the buildings viability. So if the current developer is believing that he has users for that, I personally am all for that. So forgive me for interjecting, but I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mr.
definitely.
Yeah, Mr. Cote. So part of our requirement was that we did deliver first floor retail in this development. It was a requirement from the onset that we had a mixed use building, so retail was required on that first floor.
Mhm.
I do know that the property across the street changed from retail to residential, and I think that just bolsters this site and the need for new, more modern retail spaces with higher ceilings and more storefront glass. What we historically don't see retailers commit upfront prior to a development starting. They really want to know the timeline of delivery. We have our brokerage team has had lots of conversations with retailers of interest for inline retail, but that will be vetted out through the development process as we get underway here shortly with construction and start interviewing and talking to more retailers.
Understood. I agree, and I want to clarify, I'm not against the idea of having retail flooring, but my understanding was that the space across the street were not the size or what was possibly the area needed for having retail space, and then have been condemned and changed into units. So I will do due diligence and review that. And finally, in terms of concern, I had the last concern, and this one is again, the idea of having that many units put in the area downtown, where I think, as someone who lives here, again, just last weekend, I almost got run over by a car at the same intersection for people speeding, trying to get across the track. And I just want to understand that there's a plan in place to understand that we're going to address traffic, because we saw in the last couple of months here, and this is city will definitely see a number of email coming. The historic district is changing. There are a lot more family. We're looking for more accessibility, and just dropping suddenly 100, 150 extra car downtown, where you have to wait for the train to go for traffic to move. I just wanted to understand if there was a plan address or something that was put in place to understand what is going to be the effect of the traffic on those. And I mean, I don't have to cite, just about a month ago, our second neighbor had a car landing on their front porch at a stop sign in 25-mile-per-hour zone because people are racing downtown to get access around here. And this is an issue. And this is also an issue for our property. And this is also an issue for, you know, the historic district. And understanding that would be great. But these were my 3 concerns for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Feinstein? You're okay.
Yeah, just me unmuted. My biggest concern is, and it's not really the concern of the the property density. I mean, it's a very dense property on the site, but as a result, my concern is how that property addresses the corner where you have the Bud car, the parking, the stairs that lead from the parking to the property. The feel I have from a plan standpoint is that it's very tight, and and elevationally it's hard to really discern. It's almost like, have you guys studied, do you have any 3-dimensional renderings of that area, just of that plaza? Or
No, I don't have a 3-dimensional, just a plan view from where the Bud car is and the caboose and the building.
Yeah, I mean, my primary concern looking at the plan as it is right now, the site plan is right now, just that one corner. I mean, and it's, you know, it's part of it is you're going from something that's been underutilized from a site standpoint to something that's going to be, you know, fully utilized.
Right.
So the end result's going to be a bit, you know, substantial. It's going to be a little jarring.
I mean, I think it was the city's final choice was to keep the Bud car and just to relocate it, because I think it was, do they keep it or do they get rid of it? And then keeping it, we agreed to move it into its final location and try to manage around the existing sidewalk. So we turned a set of stairs so we could kind of have like a small court there. We added additional lighting into that corner, so that corner is very well lit. And so it does, from a plan view, I think it's more spacious now that we removed those stairs that were off the end of the sidewalk. It was getting tight there with that sidewalk there, but I think that there's ample pedestrian traffic for retail users to park in the parking garage and walk around. So ultimately, this was a collaboration with the town and ourselves, and the best way to utilize it as much as possible.
Okay.
That's it, Mark?
Yeah, that's why.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Commissioner Morgan?
I don't want to repeat what my 2 fellow commissioners have said, but I like the idea of mixed use. You have retail and you have residential, but just looking at the plan from what you explained, I didn't get a clear understanding of the way you address the whole removal of the bulkhead and the stairs. And you also talked about the foundation, and you used the planter box to kind of soften things up, which is a good idea. But just from the plan, I don't see it. It's not coming to me. Basically, I didn't see it. It's not well articulated. So I think, and also just bringing retail to the first floor, and I want to emphasize on the pedestrian, people coming, people walking, and people moving about that area. It's going to bring a lot of traffic, and I think something need to be addressed. I would suggest that you address that particular issue, how you mitigate or reduce the amount of traffic, and encourage more foot traffic into the area. Because basically it's a residential building, and you're bringing retail into it, you're going to have a lot of traffic. People are going to be driving, you have parking space, a lot of people are going to come to it. So there's something that, as a suggestion, that's something you need to think about. That would be my comment.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Roddy?
Thank you. My concerns have been raised more than adequately by my preceding colleagues, and so I'll rest.
Okay, I'm next and last. Can the tech team bring up just a site plan, ground floor site plan? Any one of them will be fine.
Packet page number 10.
Thank you, Jasmine. Okay, this has nothing to do with the architectural view to the building, but I'm curious about the parking garage. The garage down at the lower level, I guess, closest to the railroad tracks. I see how you can get into the garage, from the right-hand side. What I don't understand is when you bring your car all the way to the end, how do you get out? How does somebody who goes all the way to the end?
So if you go to the west elevation, the next, I think it's the next one, right, Jasmine? Yeah, so if you look, the bottom right elevation, the west elevation, you see that there's a gap in the railings where a pedestrian could park there and walk around.
Well, I'm saying the car itself. We go back to the plan.
Oh, it's only pedestrian traffic. There's no vehicular traffic. It goes into and out of the garage.
Okay, then I don't think I'm being clear. Can we go back to the plan?
Are you asking about if a car kind of comes in the garage and they drive all the way down and they realize
Yes.
parking?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How does somebody who gets all the way to the end, and if I'm correct, there's no drive out on that left-hand part. Am I mistaken? Isn't that a dead end there?
Yes.
So how does somebody who drives all the way to the end get out? I mean, did they back their car up?
If you can see in the plans, there's this crosshatch area.
But that looks like there's a curb.
No, I think it's just
Actually,
hatched. It's just
items
paint.
there.
Yeah, it's not. It's just paint hatched. There's no curbs in there.
I thought that there were items in there when I looked. Maybe if we could blow that up, that part up, right near the Bud car, Chris. Tech team, Chris.
So at the end, there's one last parking space, and then there's a striped off space.
So am I correct that there is no vehicular egress at that point? They would have to somehow turn around and go back where they came. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so you're saying that crosshatched area is a turnaround?
I guess it could be used for that. It's a non-parking
Okay.
space.
Well, architecturally, I'll say I have my concerns on it, but that has nothing to do with the HDC. But I just wanted to, I guess, pose that issue. All right, then can we go to any of the elevations? I guess there was page 302.
Packet page 11.
Thank you, Jasmine. Okay, great. That's a good one. 302, perfect. Okay. I recall the last time you guys were here, you had a very animated elevation, and it still may be. But I recall that, if I'm not mistaken, there were 10 different materials and colors on the elevation, which I found at the time to be questionable to me. Generally, if I recall, I said, 2 or 3 is you're pretty standard. More is a little bit acceptable, but as many as 10, I thought was a little bit way too excessive. So did you guys address that at all? Because I don't see any colors here, so I'm not sure that's been addressed. Mr. Ash?
I'm just thinking through.
I'm sorry.
I'm thinking I can only recall 5 different colors.
Yeah, there was different
And
colors and different materials.
Right.
Material.
Yeah, brick being one that's,
Brick
reddish.
Yeah,
And
siding.
then there's like lighter gray, dark gray,
Yeah,
and then black and white.
yeah. I might not be completely accurate with 10, but I remember it was close to that, if not that. There was just way too many, more than I thought a typical building.
I believe there's 5, including the brick and then the different trim colors, black and white. Because there's
So
2
what
different
colors
colors.
what colors do you have on your building? Because if I recall, there was white, there was slate, there was black, and there was, I'm not even sure if there was like a light blue, but there was, so you're,
There's no blue. It was all white, grayish, black, red.
it's the red, yeah.
The red was the brick, the reddish
Oh,
brick.
so, okay, so there's no red color, it's the brick? Okay.
No, that's the brick.
Okay, so you're saying that there's only 5 colors and materials.
There's everything is cementitious siding in different patterns, and then there's brick, and then cement or PVC trims. Yes, I think
All right, so
there's
you're
only
saying five
5 colors, and I think there's
materials.
3 product. Well, there is some stucco, so there's 4 product types and 5 colors.
So you're back to 9.
No, well, you're mixing things with me. There's 4
Okay.
different products for materials, but of those 4 different materials, there's 5 different colors.
I guess my real question is, did you guys ever address it and reduce any colors, or is it still the same?
No, we did simplify
Okay.
the elevations. Yes, we
Okay.
did.
My next question, and only, I think it might be the last, is the garage itself. No, there's actually 2 more, but this one's the second to last. The garage itself, if I recall, I think it came up in discussion that it just seemed too much like a standard garage that is without, let's say, contemporary character. I mean, you have such a beautiful building and you're putting in a 1970s garage next to it. Did you guys pursue that question when we posed it back, I guess, 3 years ago, to make that a little bit more architectural? If I recall, one of them was to have it look like they were doors, even an archtop door, rather than these, like I said, 1970s standard garage look.
Well, we did change it from an all precast garage to include the brick panels going around it. So we did embellish the garage with brick paneling.
Well, then I guess I'll just suggest that maybe you guys look further at that, and mostly these 2 buildings, the garage and the apartment building, look like they're completely different, designed by different people and designed in different era. Like the garage, I keep saying, looks like it's from the 70s. So may I offer the suggestion, you break that up and maybe you have just, instead of just open span, you make it look like it's archtop brick openings. So even just 2 of them that are wide, that will break up that massing, and use punch windows, not windows, but punched openings rather than the ribbon. Again, your building is so strong, but I personally believe the garage is so weak, at least on this elevation. We don't really, I don't know if we should worry too much about the, I guess we would. I was gonna say the train tracks, because essentially you do see that elevation from across the train tracks as part of the city's view. So may I suggest you guys look at that. Can we go to the next elevation page? I don't know if it was 301 or 303. I think There you go. Thank you. Is the bottom elevation, because I don't see, is the bottom elevation the street front, and the south elevation the view from the train tracks?
Yep. So the south elevation that you see here, that's the one that's facing the garage.
Yeah. So that's what you would see across the train tracks.
Yeah, you won't be able to
No,
see it, the garage
no.
right in front of it.
Oh, okay. Do we have an elevation of the garage, what we would see?
Let me- if you go to packet page number, I believe it's 35.
Yeah, okay. So that's essentially what we would see from the city view across the train tracks, which is certainly a major view, a major elevation. If there's something you guys can do to make that look more architectural is the only word I can come up with. Going back to the other elevations, go up page 301 again, please, Chris. Thank you. So essentially, we're not going to see the bottom elevation. I'm sorry, the top elevation. It's going to have the garage in front of it. I get that. But this looks like to me, between these two elevations, since the one on the top won't be seen except, in maybe the courtyard or whatever. And the one on the bottom is the street frontage one, the one that's going to be the primary one along the main street. Honestly, I think that the top one is a stronger design. It has more life and character in my personal viewpoint. So my only suggestion is to see if you can bring some more of those elements from the top elevation down to the street elevation, which is the bottom one. I think, like I said, the one at the top is very strong. And I kind of think the one at the bottom is a little bit more sparse. And that's it. Those are my only comments. So let's do Commissioners Open Forum. Since everybody spoke, jump right in if you guys have any other further thoughts.
I just wanted to concur with Dean's comments about the garage, especially. I think that's that view from across the train tracks. It is going to be very visible. So whatever you can do, if anything, to make it more cohesive with the building, I think would be helpful.
Good, thank you. Any other guys? Anybody else? Nobody? Okay, all right, well, that's it. Thank you very much for your time, and we do hope that you consider some of our thoughts, Mr. Ash.
Great. I appreciate it.
Your time and help. And I have to tell you that I think the building looks good, and my personal vantage point on the densities, I'm all for density. I am also an urbanist, and I love that the city can grow with bringing more people in. And with that, you have traffic, but that's part of the nature of an urban center. So
one of our strategies, and this goes to Mr. Kitte's concern. I mean, these are smaller floor plans, so we are hoping that this resident is, utilizing mass transit more. It is right there at the train station, so that's kind of the concept behind utilizing this space for its highest and best use. And again, it's a 60-40 split. A higher percentage of one bedrooms and smaller one bedrooms. That it's a little bit different of a product type than what's across the street. There's larger ones and much larger twos. So we're kind of appealing to a more transient demographic.
well, wonderful, and we wish you much luck. And I think I hope that retail takes off, because that is what produces lots of wonderful activity in the city, I think.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's a lot of the work with the city trying to engage that corner
Yeah.
with the MARC train station there, the museum there. So that's really, the impetus of that retail on that corner and making that a very vibrant corner.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you. Well, since this is a courtesy review, there's no voting. And so we'll be moving on to the next item, which
Okay.
is another courtesy review, which is we have AFP-8914-2021, which is a conversion of existing bank into new laundromat and modifications to parking lot of the property located at 22 North Summit Avenue in the CBD Central Business District Zone. May we have an introduction from staff?
Hey, Dean, are you online?
Chris, who's?
I
going
just
to
got
speak?
here.
Chris, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Well, we're going to have introduction from staff. So Chris Berger, can you hear us?
Going to be Christopher Salzano is from staff.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, Chris.
It's all right. There's two of us now.
Right, I didn't realize. I thought you were a part of the ownership team. My mistake.
Nope. Good evening. This is the courtesy review for the property located at 22 North Summit Avenue. This application is before the Historic District Commission because the property is located in the Old Town courtesy review area. Pursuant to section 24-227.4, the Historic District Commission may review and make recommendations to the Planning Commission on applications for site development and plan approvals. Tech team, could I have page 58, please? Thank you. The bank building was constructed circa 1891, and in 1974, the Planning Commission granted approval for the construction of a 560 square foot freestanding drive-through window with a canopy. The applicant is requesting to change the use of this building from the existing bank to a new laundromat and do some minor parking lot modifications. Tech team, could I have page 69, please? And here to present from the applicant's team is Dean Packard.
Welcome, Mr. Packard.
Welcome. My name is Dean Packard. I'm a civil engineer and I'm representing the applicant Scott Lee to modify the existing Bank of America building to a high-tech laundry. What we're proposing to do is a simpler version of the last case where we're going to keep the building pretty much as it is with the existing height and structure. And the only minor modifications we're making to the building are to add a double entry door on the left-hand side of the building and some louvers for air ventilation on the right side of the building. There will be a fence on the left corner of the building, shielding the side view, and air conditioning units that will be placed on the ground on the side of the building. And the only other modifications to the site itself we are removing several areas of paving to add more green space to meet the city requirements for 10%. And as far as the look of the building is going to look, our proposal is to make it look the same with the same color. And as I said, the same height and visibility from the street. The architect and the owner is on the call with us now, and I am available for any questions from the commission that I can answer.
Okay, would the architect or the owner like to add anything?
My name is Scott Lee. I'm the owner of the property and will be the owner of the business as well. I apologize. This is my first of participating in a hearing like this. So if I misuse a term or anything like that, forgive me. As Dean mentioned, the intent is to keep the current building much as possible to existing conditions. we would probably add one entry door and to where the ATM machine was. We would remove the ATM machine, and that's where the entry door, the primary entry door, will be installed. Everything else, some of the windows, like I said, as Dean mentioned, needs to be converted into a louver for the fresh air makeup. But the overall intent and the look of the building is to remain the same.
Wonderful, thank you. Is it Mr. Kim is the architect? Would you like to add anything? You're on mute. You're still on mute, Mr. Kim? Well, there's the mute button, I believe, is in the bottom left of the screen. Can you see, can you put that on? There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, yes.
Okay, great. Yes, I mean, we trying to convert the laundromat. So we have to convert for the laundromat use. So we need like a little bit change of the doors, entry. And also we need the fresh air to the, dryer vent. So we trying to change the minimum as possible. So that's our intention.
Okay, thank you. All righty. All right, sounds like everybody's spoke on ownership. So next we'll go to the public. Public is now invited to speak. To indicate that you want to make a comment, if you're on a computer or laptop, move your mouse to the bottom center of the Zoom window, and you should see a raise hand button pop up. Click on that button and we can call on you. If you're dialing in on a telephone, press *9 to raise your hand.
Seeing no one.
Okay, very good. All right, then let's hear from the commissioners. When I call your name, please state your thoughts and questions for the applicant. Commissioner Cote?
No question, no comment.
Okay, Commissioner Feinstein?
Yes, my main comment has to do with the windows that are being closed in on the side elevation. I think it's like six windows are being closed in, if I'm counting correctly. And though the question I have is, has it been, it's a one-story building, have you been able to look at kind of bringing some of the fresh air intake and the exhaust out through the roof in lieu of closing in all these windows?
Could we, tech team, could we see at the elevation?
Elevation T3.
Thank you, Rudy.
Yeah, so it's you have 6 windows along the side elevation there. I have no issues with the door, the switching from the single door to the double door on the front elevation. I think that works fine. It's more just the if there's an alternative to being able to close in those windows.
This is Scott speaking. We had looked at that option, but the building was constructed a really long time ago, and it wasn't built all at once. They were built in different phases and stages of time, it seems like, and there was maybe possibly 2 or 3 buildings that were kind of put together over time. When we looked at possibly penetrating through the roof, there were some challenges, I think, that existed with the current roofing conditions. And it was made more sense to use an existing windows. And again, it's not all of the windows. We are trying to use the ones that are in the back. So that's why we were able to push the dryers to the back of it, of the store, as much as possible, and try to minimize a number of windows that we have to close up. There's 6 that are being proposed to be closed up. The 4 of the 6 are going to be have to be converted to a louver, and we just reducing the size of that window. But the other 2 that are remaining, we don't have to. If the commission's recommendation is to keep those windows open, we could have those. The 2 that are not being converted to louver, we could just keep it as a window as well.
I mean, I think it would be ideal to, I mean, from probably an interior environment as well, to keep as many of the windows in place as possible.
Okay.
Great comment, Mark. Okay, Commissioner Roddy.
I shared Commissioner Feinstein's concern, and I think he handled it very well. Thank you.
Okay, next and last, my concern is also with the windows. I see, so I think that the commission definitely would like you to save the 2 windows out of the 6 that you are able to. But going back to the elevation, it appears that you have the vents at the top part of 4 windows. Is there a possibility to maintain the windows on the bottom half of those 4 vents?
I mean, we could look into that option. We would talk to the architect and the structure engineer to see if that's a feasibility and a possibility as well.
I would think it would just be a whole lot better, personally, than blanking them all out. Because by the way, I've rarely ever seen bricked up windows look elegant, is the best word I can use. They always look pretty rough. So the other thing too is natural light will help the people that are working there, and the view out to the building itself will break up the massing rather than make it look like a big long brick wall. Okay, well, thank you so much. Since this is a courtesy review, does anybody want to jump in for any thoughts? Yes.
If I may, I have one question. The existing guard and handrail, can you tell me what material they made of? On elevation A2, elevation A4. I'm assuming the metal rails, right? The material.
This is Dean Packard again. What exists there now is it's a steel railing.
Okay.
That's been there for a while, and the wood fence will go back to the double doors there.
Okay. So the reason for my question is I want to address the new board-on-board wood fence. I would suggest that you use this metal. So basically, you're trying to repeat what is already there, and then use wood behind the metal. So from an architectural perspective, from an aesthetic perspective, when you look at look at the elevation, you will see metal, but then the wood is actually behind. Like it's like transparent. It's behind the metal, just to give the building a more architectural appeal. That would be my suggestion. As far as the removing the windows, I agree with my fellow commissioners. The question I have, the grill is to be fresh air, right? Because you need certain percentage of fresh air into the space. Am I right?
It's for the job. Yes.
Okay, so if you need certain percentage of fresh air into the space, you're looking at the size. I showed you some calculation determine how much fresh air you need into the space. That will give you the amount and size of the new air vent. Is it possible to keep the window and put the vent on above the window? If you use the size, you can go linear and increase the size. Is it possible to do that?
Yes, we can make a full size of the window for the louver.
Yeah.
Then we can keep the existing windows, couple more.
Yeah, and I think the other commissioner have suggested that as well. So there's a couple things you can look at, but the fence that you're using, the new fence, take a look at using a metal and then put the wood behind the metal. So
The metal, I don't think it doesn't work because of metal. This wood, the fence, totally closed out, cannot see inside. But if you put the wood, the metal, you can see inside. So what we can do, we can paint same color with the metal railing and
Yep.
wood fence. That we can do.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that's all right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's it.
Any further from anybody else? I'll just end by saying that I think Mark's idea of exploring venting through the roof is a big plus if you guys can achieve that. It'll allow you to save most of those windows and probably get more ventilation because you can open up.
Also, I would say one more thing.
Yes, sir.
We have two vents, exhaust vent and the fresh air vent.
Fresh air, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we cannot put together.
Yeah.
No, but they would be separate. They would be on different parts of the roof.
Mm-hmm. So mostly our design is all the exhaust vent is go through the roof, fresh air from the wall.
On the wall, yeah. I think that's what. So the vent on the elevation that is for fresh air intake.
Yeah,
right?
intake. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your exhaust will be on the roof. Okay.
But what we can do is
yeah.
like a full size of the vent, like a window size.
Okay.
Then we can reduce the number of the fresh air vent.
Okay, no other comments from anybody? All right, so since this is the courtesy review, there's no voting, so we'll move on to the next. So thank you all for presenting. Next then we have two historic area work permits. The first up is HIST 8965-2021, placement of 96 square foot shed 4 Walker Avenue in the R90 medium density residential zone. May we have an introduction from staff?
Yes, if the tech team can pull up page 76, please. The application comes through the HDC in accordance with section 24-227 of the City Code. The subject property is contributing to the Brookes, Russell, and Walker Historic District. The applicant proposes the installation of a 96 square foot prefabricated shed in the rear yard. Next page, please. As noted here in the design guidelines, accessory structures are to be located in the rear yard. The City Code has additional requirements for size, lot coverage, height, and distance from property lines for accessory structures. Next page, please. The applicant seeks to install the 96 square foot garden shed in the rear yard. It is the Backyard Products' Summerfield model, which we see here on the screen. Not necessarily this color, but this is the model. Next page, please. And here's a drawing of that model. The shed will measure 8 feet wide and 12 feet long and stand 11 feet 4 inches tall. It will be accessed via central double doors with transom lights and decorative hardware. The wood frame walls will be covered with SmartSide, a wood composite material. Next page, please. Here's the side view. The gable roof will be covered with fiberglass shingles. Next page, please. The shed will be located in the rear, near the rear fence in the rear yard. Staff seeks a condition that the shed is located at least 3 feet from the property lines in accordance with section 24-163 of the City Code. It meets all other City Code requirements. And joining us this evening is the property owner, Peggy Murray.
Welcome, Ms. Murray. If you want to speak, I think you're currently on mute. Yes.
Okay, there we are. Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you. The only thing, Chris, I sent you a separate picture of the shed because the one that the company sent me has the doors on the end. The doors are actually going to be on the same side as the window. There's a door and a window that'll be on the side. So we're going to have it facing, the side will be facing the rear of the house, the side with the door and the window. And so I sent you a separate picture because they said they couldn't include it in the package that way. So anyway, just to be transparent, I guess. I don't want it to look like we did something different than what we stated we would do.
I personally am glad you brought that up because I do recall seeing both options in the package. And I was glad to see that the double doors are on the gable end, but now I'm hearing they're not. So can we bring up the photo, the drawing that shows the doors on the side elevation or the long elevation?
Right.
Let me see if they are in the packet.
Right. They should. I don't know if I saw them in the packet, but I saw them in an email. A separate
Okay,
email.
I just put the plans in the packet
Yeah.
that
Because that's
you
what-
sent
right.
me. So if we don't have an image of them, we may have to hold off on voting on this
Oh,
application if we don't
gosh.
have the correct
No,
information.
we can't do that. I can send them over right now if I have to, but I have been on a waiting list for 3 months. You know how tough it is to get anything ordered and built. And
If the HDC would be willing to grant staff the ability to work with the applicant on finalizing the design, but what is in the packet is what was submitted to the city.
well, no, but I submitted that picture as well, because you put it in the articles that you gave me, in the email you sent back to me. The correct picture was there along with the plans and everything else I had to fill out. So it was submitted to the city.
I remember seeing it. So
Yeah.
and I saw it online, and
So I'm looking at page 100. Perhaps this is it, page 100 in the packet.
Nope.
No, that's not it.
Next page, please.
Nope.
No, it's a photograph like the first one was.
Well, I don't remember. I don't recall a photo, but maybe it was. I recall a drawing.
I believe it's next page. If we could try 102.
No, it's online. It's online. No, that's.
So this shows 2 doors here.
Well, I'll tell you, that drawing alone is good enough for us.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's where the door will be. There's a
comprehend that.
window. Right. There's a window on top, and that's where the doors will be.
Okay, so now, are you, Ms. Murray, saying that the back, let me restate it. The part with the front doors, with the doors, do we consider that the front part of this shed, and that's what will be facing your house? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so essentially, everybody, that's the front elevation now. It's the doors are off center, and the gable end is on the short sides. So we can figure that out for ourselves. So I have no problem with us moving forward with this right now.
Great, great.
Okay. Any other thoughts from the ownership before we go to the public?
No, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to use the same colors I have on my house.
Wonderful.
Shed. So.
Okay. And Chris Berger did say that you're going to be using horizontal siding.
It's Smart Side, which is a composite material.
But it's going to be horizontal.
I believe it's just.
It's a flat piece.
Flat.
Oh, so the drawing is what it's going to look like. So it's going to be like T111 or something like that.
Right. I have German siding on my house anyway, so.
That's what I'm saying. So this is not going to look anything like that.
No, I can't. Yeah, I can't do that.
Okay. So anyway, all right. So the rendering that they showed, the drawing that they showed, shows just flat panels. So anyway, all right. I think we have an idea of it. So with no further information from ownership, I'll go to the public. Okay. All right. The public is now invited to speak. To indicate that you want to make a comment, if you're on a computer or a laptop, move your mouse to the bottom center of the Zoom window, and you should see a raise hand button pop up. Click on that button, and then we can call on you. If you're dialing in on telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand.
I see no one.
Okay. Then we'll go to the commission. And when I call your name, please state your thoughts and questions for the applicant. Commissioner Cote.
My question was already answered by owner. The color is the same as the house, and I'm happy with that.
Okay. Commissioner Feinstein.
I have no issues with the application as long as it meets the condition that the city has placed on it, with it being 3 feet from the property lines.
Right,
Okay.
and I'm sorry about that, because I did have that marked on one of the plats, but not the one I included in the packet, so.
And that
It's
is
actually gonna
just,
be 4 feet, it's actually gonna be 4 feet from the property line.
and just as an FYI, the 3 foot from the property line would actually be part of the permit requirement over and above historic district. That would be part of the building permit. So just so you're aware of that.
Right, right.
Good thought. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Morgan. I think you're on mute.
Okay, all right, sorry.
It's
From
okay.
the presentation and the clarification from the owner, I have no question, I have no comments.
Very good. Commissioner Roddy.
No further questions.
Okay, I don't have any questions or concerns. Okay, it sounds like we don't have to do an open forum because that seems like a simple thing. So may I have a motion to approve or deny this application with or without conditions?
Yeah, I'd move that the Historic District Commission, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony and the staff report findings and recommendations, grant HIST 8965-2021 for a shed installation at 4 Walker Avenue, finding it to be in compliance with section 24-227.2 of the city code, with one condition, and that be that the shed must be placed with an offset of at least 3 feet away from the property lines.
May I have a second?
Second,
Okay, let me take a vote now. When I call your name, please say aye if you support the motion, nay if you don't, or abstain if you wish. Commissioner Cote,
Aye.
Commissioner Feinstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan,
aye.
Commissioner Roddy,
Aye.
and Commissioner Ventola says aye. So it's 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, and thanks for giving me some slack on the picture.
No problem. Particularly when I thought you were so upset that you had to wait longer. It was like, no way we're going to wait for a shed. So,
Well, right now, you know how long you have to wait.
Oh,
For
yeah.
oh, I know, but I'm saying for a shed, there's no reason to wait for a shed.
Right, before winter, anyway.
Hope you enjoy it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next then is another historic area work permit, which is HIST 8966-2021. It's a retroactive review of roof, front walk, shutters, and door at 101 Brookes Avenue in the R90 medium density residential zone. May we have an introduction from staff?
Yes, if tech team can pull up page 115. The application comes to the HDC in accordance with section 24-227 of the city code. The subject property is non-contributing to the Brookes, Russell, and Walker Historic District. The applicant seeks the retroactive approval for the 4 work items: the replacement of the wood shingles on the roof with composition shingles. The second is reconfiguration of the faux shutters on the front elevation. Third is replacement of the stone walk with concrete pavers. And the fourth is removal of the metal covering over the upper section of the garage entry door. Staff initially noticed the replacement of the roof earlier this year, and closer inspection revealed the other work had been also done without a historic area work permit. We can jump ahead, page 136, please. Thank you. Because 101 Brookes is a non-contributing property, I'd like to emphasize section 24-227.2b of the city code, which reads as follows. In the case of an application for work on a historic resource, the commission shall be lenient in its judgment on plans for structures of little historical or design significance, or for plans involving new construction, unless such plans would seriously impair the historic or architectural significance of surrounding historic resources. The Historic District Commission shall be strict in its judgment of plans for site or structures determined by research to be of historic, architectural, or archaeological significance. And if now we can go back to page 116. Thank you. The Brookes, Russell, and Walker design guidelines apply. The fifth bullet under driveways, alleys, and walkways reads, lead walks from public sidewalks or driveways should be constructed of concrete, brick, or tar and chip. Slate/flagstone are acceptable, but not preferred. Next page, please. The first bullet applies here. New, additional, or replacement construction work on existing houses should be compatible with the historical design elements. And next page, please. Under materials, the first bullet reads, the historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alteration in spaces that characterize a property shall be avoided. And next page, please, 119. For siding, the last bullet reads, if a material is developed in the future that can provide an appearance that is historic, it may be used on a case-by-case basis. Next page, please. For roofing, it reads, in the Brookes, Russell, and Walker Historic District, there are a few examples of original roofing materials remaining. These were of pressed or standing seam tin, wood shake shingles, slate, or patterned composition. Care should be exercised prior to replacing these with modern materials. In the bullets, original materials should be retained, matched, restored if possible. In the second one, the size, shape, and texture of the original material should be matched if possible. Next page, page 121. For shutters, the first bullet, shutters should be sized, placed, and attached to appear functional. And next page, please. So first, we'll look at the roof. The photo here is from 2019, when the property was for sale. It shows the previous wood shingle roof. And if we can go to the next page, please. This is the roof now, covered with asphalt shingles. Though it was completed without a hop, staff supports the work because the property is non-contributing to the district. A number of surrounding properties have composition shingle roofs, and staff also notes that the wood shingles were only present on the front facade. The roofs on the back of the residence had been covered with composition shingles for some time, so there is precedent for the material on the property. And we'll look at some of those roofs now. Next page, please. This is in the rear yard. This is also from 2019, but it's still like that today. And next page, please. And this is the rear of the house, already had composition shingles on it. Next page, please. So next we'll look at the shutters. Again, these are how they were arranged in 2019. We're looking on the left side of the front door, 2 shutters, 2 faux shutters to either side of the windows. And next page, please. Here they are now. So according to the applicant's representative, the previous shutters were removed and repainted, but one was obviously not reinstalled. Staff does not support removal of the faux shutter and the current placement of the shutters. Per the design guidelines, shutters should be sized, placed, and attached to appear functional. Staff contends the current configuration has a negative effect on the surroundings, and staff seeks to have the previous shutter configuration returned within 180 days. You can go to the next page, please. And the next work item is for the walkway. It previously had stone slabs, which you can sort of see in this photo. And next page, please. It now has these stone pavers. Staff supports installation of these pavers. While the previous stone slabs were more in keeping with the design of the house, the design guidelines do note the following. Lead walks from public sidewalks or driveways should be constructed of concrete, brick, or tar and chip. Slate/flagstone are acceptable but not preferred. So the pavers were professionally installed and do not seriously impair the historic or architectural significance of the surrounding historic resources. And next page, please. And the last work item is for the replacement of the upper half of the rounded barn door to the garage. The garage is plywood covered in metal shaped to give the appearance of board and batten. Apparently, the applicant removed the upper half of the door and replaced it with plywood, This is a photo from April of this year that shows the door before it was painted. If we can go to the next page. And you can see how it looks now, and next page again. And here's a closer look. Staff does not support removal of the metal cladding on this door. The board and batten design adds character to the building, and the plywood replacement is not compatible with the property and has a negative effect on the surroundings. Staff seeks to have the door reclad in metal exactly as it was before. I don't know how easy it would be to find that kind of metal cladding these days, so if the HTC has any, if they're in agreement that it needs to be reclad, if you have any suggestions on an appropriate solution, we are open to hearing them. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant's representative, Mr. Kevin Arabello. He's representing the applicants. He is the son of the owners of the property. Kevin, do you have anything to add?
All your comments are right. The bricks were professionally reinstalled. A lot of the things that we had to change weren't because we wanted to, but because we had to, due to the fact that the house was so old. And it's like for example, the roof, it was, I mean, you could see it was basically deteriorating in itself. And another reason why we changed that is insurance policies. Whenever we try to get insurance, specifically from Allstate Insurance, they would not let us get the insurance just because of the roof. So we didn't have time to think about getting a permit. More so, we just wanted to get that insurance done, like right then and there, because it just takes a while to get that done. You know what I mean? So it's a little harder. The garage door, like the door of that, we changed that because the top of it was already like molding. It was deteriorating due to the age, and we just couldn't find what's called the metal. Yeah, we couldn't find like any metal parts anywhere from any store, so we just left it like that. And to talk about the what's it called, like the shutters, that was because one of them just kind of broke on itself. So yeah. No further
Okay,
comments.
all right, very good, thank you. All right, so then we can go to the public. You're invited to speak, to indicate that you want to make a comment. If you're on a computer or laptop, move your mouse to the bottom center of the Zoom window and you should see a raise hand button pop up. Click on that button and then we can call on you. If you are dialing in on a telephone, press *9 to raise your hand.
And I see no one.
Okay, then we'll move to the commissioners. When I call your name, please state your thoughts and questions for the applicant, and you can address any of those 4 items or all 4 of the items. Commissioner Cote.
Yes, first question would be in consideration to the door cladding. I understand it might be difficult to source that material nowadays, and my question would be, was the previous material by any means kept and not discarded, and can be somehow, just improve and covered back that portion? I don't know if it was the wood part that was actually missing or that was actually broken in bad condition, or the metal part.
Okay,
but in any case, I'm just curious.
All right, let me rephrase this one. The front of the door was rusting. It had damaged rust. We couldn't do anything about it. The issue with rust is, like as we all know here, it eats, what it does is it eats the metal. And the door, the plywood, was already rotten itself. We had to throw them away. There was no question of can we keep this? It's the fact that it was rusting. It was rusting from the inside. You can't see it in the front, but it was rusting on the inside. If we try to sand it down or anything like that, we would just create a hole. So we had to throw it away.
Okay. All right. No more question.
Okay, Commissioner Feinstein.
Yeah, I have a couple comments and a couple questions. My first question is actually for Chris Berger, and trying to understand when you have a house that's a non-contributing resource, but still, at this point, this is what 1947 it was built, so it's well more than 50 years old. So it could be considered, historic on its own merits. Does the district ever, I guess you'd have to amend the guidelines of the district to allow for additional buildings that meet the standards of historic structure to be included in the district guidelines? Is that how it would work?
Not necessarily the guidelines, but the actual designation. And you're on the right track. This property, the district was designated in 1987, I believe. This property, as you said, was from 1947. So at the time it was designated, it was only 40 years old. So that's probably the rationale why it was left out of the district. Typically 50 years is our cutoff to include a historic property or not. So right now it's not in the district. If it was, if the designation was looked at again, it has the potential to be included.
And what would the process be to look at that?
It would have to go through essentially the designation process again. So it would be a triple public hearing and then final decision by the mayor and council.
Right. Okay, well, that's obviously not happening right now for this particular house. So let's talk specifically about the issues. One, it's always difficult. It puts us in an awkward position to have to retroactively approve these historic area work permits, and I wish there was a better way to make it known to especially to the new owners. I know it's part of the closing documents, and we do what we can to make people aware of the fact that modifications in the district have to be go through the special process, but it's always hard to have to say that something that was done and obviously done for a reason doesn't meet the guidelines and then has to be retroactively replaced. So we hate to do that, and yeah, we encourage you in the future, if anything you're doing, please let's go through the process so we don't have to go back and redo anything.
Yeah,
with the door, I think the primary, I think I agree with the city with the shutters, but and I think that's kind of an easier fix because the shutters aren't really that hard they're not that unusual. So I don't think it'll be hard to find another one. But for that door, since we are not dealing with a contributing resource, one of the thoughts I would have, because it does, it doesn't look great, but it would be an expense would be to replace the whole door and do a stained wood to match the front door of the house. I know that would be something that obviously it would be different than anything that's thrown out there, but I'm not sure how easy it's going to be. I know it sounds like you've done some research on the metal cladding and how easy it would be to replicate that. You almost would need to probably find a metal worker to do a custom cladding on that door to make it work. So is it something that you would consider? I don't know if the rest of the commission would be interested in considering either, but to replace both leaves of I think it looks like a Dutch door, and do something that's kind of would replicate the look of the front door in terms of the style and material.
Oh, sorry, you were asking me. Okay. It's possible. I feel like, it depends really on the time that my parents can find it, and just, if there's even like a metal worker around Gaithersburg or around like all of the DMV that I can ask and be like, can you replicate it this exact way? This is like with a certain type of material.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's still like I said, it's hard to find like that type of metal. I feel like around these type of dates, because it's really thin, like this, like really, really thin. So when I was carrying it to the truck to dispose of it, it just crumbled. Like it started crumbling, and I could fold it easily with just no strength. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
The other thought I had was And I'm not sure how visible the rear is, but if you would take a piece from the rear of the garage and just replace that portion, like a clean piece with plywood, and then use the material from the rear to clad the door in the front, since it's more visible. If the material cannot be found, I'm not sure if that's a great idea either. I'm just trying to come up with ideas that could work.
It might be possible. I mean, I'm not a worker.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, the most I've had is, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know anything about like that. Maybe we could, maybe we can't. I'd have to look into that myself.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's a great idea.
So those are my main comments, and I'm curious what the rest of the commission has to say about it, because, like I said, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Morgan? You're on
Commissioner
mute.
Morgan, you're on mute.
All right, sorry. I shared the staff recommendation regarding the shutter. That's an easy one. That's an easy fix. And I know everyone have beat you on the door, but I don't know if financially it's basically where the burden is financially, but getting someone to replicate the matter is not a problem, because that's something I do every day. Matching materials and retrofitting things. It can be done. There's so many smart and creative sheet metal guys out there. I mean, you drive into Frederick, you'll find a lot of sheet metal. If you drive on 355, which turn into 85, there's a lot of sheet metal business you can talk to. They can replicate. I mean, they can come up with creative form to match that. So that's not a problem. I think maybe the problem would be financially, how much you're willing to spend on this, but it can't be done. I've seen it done before. So I think I would advise that you explore more into this area, see if you can find someone that can replicate. So the door can at least, if you look at the door, it seems that you explain why it was cut and it was rusted, and you try to salvage it, and then you replace the top part with the plywood.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look good architecturally. I would suggest that you find a sheet metal person. It doesn't have to be the same material, but it can be close to it, and it can be primed and painted to match the existing condition. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay. I can do the research. I'm just asking because you're already here. Do you know anyone? Do you just like have like any links or anything?
Where
I could coordinate with Commissioner Morgan on we could discuss offline.
Offline, yeah.
Yeah, if you can do that, then yeah, that's perfect. But yeah, thank you, Morgan.
Okay, anything further, Rudy?
Nope, nothing.
Okay, Commissioner Roddy?
Yes, I share Commissioner Feinstein's concerns about the retroactive authority that's being sought. And I'm sure Mr. Berger has already told you that this commission has a very dim view of proceeding without authority in these matters. And certainly when you're talking about the walk or the shutters or the door, that really isn't an issue. It's a little bit different with the roof, because the integrity of the building depends on the integrity of the roof. But retroactive authority is something we really do not like to give, and certainly Commissioner Feinstein, I think, addressed the methods we're trying currently to make sure that everyone knows when they buy into a certain section of the city that they're forewarned about the process. I would like to address the roof separately. The pictures of the structure before the roof was replaced very clearly show that it is growing considerable moss. And I know from personal experience that that stage of growth contributes to a great deal of destruction of the roof itself, especially if it's wood. Replacing the roof is necessary to maintain the integrity of the building, as I said before. It's vital. Some people believe that the wooden shingle is nice and has a certain quaintness. I guess it does, but wood in and of itself is not a very good roofing material. And I have replaced roofing shingles that were cypress, that were deteriorated even to a greater extent than you would expect for 50 years old. And cypress is supposed to be the most durable wood known for shingles. So I don't have a problem with that other than the retroactive aspect of it. And I'll confine my remarks to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, I absolutely dislike retroactive reviews, particularly because this has been going on for 10 years and all we keep hearing is another retroactive review of somebody who did not know that they had a responsibility. But anyway, regardless of that, the 4 points in question: roof, asphalt, shingles. When I look at the existing roof, everybody knows that that needs to be replaced, clearly. The bigger issue for me is that's the only roof in the whole area, I would say on the whole building, which has different facets to the building, that has wood shingles. That, to me, it makes no sense. If all the other elevations have the asphalt shingles, but the front elevation has the wood, that to me isn't proper architecturally. So I'm just fine with matching the other shingles on the roof, mostly and particularly because it's a non-contributing resource. I don't know how it ever got that way, other than people changed. There's probably originally all wood shingles and they decided that they were going to just change the part that wasn't seen. I don't know, but I'm fine with the asphalt shingles on the front because it matches the rest of the building. The shutters clearly to me is an error architecturally in the revision. So I strongly believe that the two shutters or the two windows should have 4 shutters. So they should be it should go back to the way it was, even if you have to buy another shutter to match. If the existing shutters are wood, buy wood. For the walkway itself, I'm not a big fan necessarily of the stone. I guess, is that stone or is it molded concrete?
It's molded concrete.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of that, but it's acceptable. I think I don't have a concern with it. And then the garage door, that arch top, I think that Rudy's point that you have metal workers who are able to replicate that available. I think that should be done. And it's not a very large area. It's not like you're doing the entire building or anything. So I'm of the mindset to require that. Now, based on that, does anybody, before we go to a vote, does anybody want to throw in any other further thoughts on any of this stuff? Because what I'm planning on doing is hitting each one of the 4 and going through everybody and have your opinion on the 4. Okay, I see in here no one. Okay, very good. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit each commissioner and go across the board, and I'm going to say for specific, the roof, asphalt, shingle, is that acceptable to you or not? The shutters, making them 4 shutters. The walkway, acceptable as is, and then the garage door to be metal, replace metal. So those are the 4 I'm going to ask about. So Commissioner Cote, roof, asphalt, shingles, are you accepting that it's acceptable as is?
Yes.
Okay. The shutters, to put in take the 3 shutters and put it back to be the 4 shutters for the 2 windows.
I agree to replace.
Okay, and the molded concrete walkway, is that acceptable as is?
Yes.
And then the garage door to require them to replace it metal to replace what was there.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Feinstein, roof asphalt shingles,
Yes.
shutters to be four,
Yeah.
4 shutters, all right. Walkway as is,
Yes.
and to requiring them to replace that metal door panel.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Roddy, roof asphalt shingles are okay as is.
Yes, are you forgetting Commissioner Morgan?
Did I miss him? I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
it's
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. All right. I did. I don't know how. Oh, I know why. Excuse me. I wrote down the list wrong. Please forgive me. Let me go to Mr. Commissioner Morgan. Yes. Roof asphalt shingles.
yes.
Okay. Shutters. 4
Replace
shutters.
4 shutters, yes.
Okay. The walkway as is.
As it is, yes.
Okay. And then the to replace the metal door.
Yes, the
With metal,
replacement.
yes, okay. All right, very good. Thank you, John. All right, and then Commissioner Roddy?
Yes.
Roof asphalt shingles, you said yes?
Yes,
The shutters being 4,
4 shutters,
okay. The walkway as is,
as is.
all right. And then the garage door to be replaced by the metal like it was there.
Metal.
All right, and then for me, roof asphalt shingles, yes. You need 4 shutters, yes. The walkway is okay as is, yes. And then the door needs to have its metal replaced is yes. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, John, for helping me out on that. So here's what we have very simply, as you guys already know. And what I'd like somebody to do is make a motion to the effect. So the roof asphalt shingles are okay as is. The shutters must have 4 shutters. The walkway is okay as is, and the door has to be metal. So can somebody make a motion to require that conclusion?
Yeah, sure. I recommend that we adopt the staff recommended motion, which says, I move that the Historic District Commission, based on the exhibits submitted, applicant's testimony, and the staff report findings and recommendation, grant HIST -8966 2021 retroactive review of roof, front walk, shutters, and door at 101 Brookes Avenue, finding it to be in compliance with section 24-227.2 of the city code with 2 conditions. First, that the applicant within 180 days from the HDC's approval must reinstall a shutter on the front elevation to match the previous configuration. And 2, the applicant within 180 days from the HDC's approval must reinstall the metal cladding on the exterior garage door to match the previous pattern.
Very good. Second?
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor, what I'll do is call your name. If you agree with it, say aye. If you don't, nay, abstain if you wish. Commissioner Cote,
Aye.
Commissioner Feinstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan,
Aye.
Commissioner Roddy,
Aye.
Commissioner Ventola says aye. Okay, so that passes 5-0. Mr. Arevalo, thank you for your input, and it sounded like that you are open to the idea of the metal work being put back on, which is wonderful. So thank you very much for your time, and congratulations on allowing your existing roof and your existing walkway.
All right, thank you.
All right, very good. All right, next then is anything from staff. Chris?
Nothing from me.
Okay, Frank?
No, I don't have anything, nothing more tonight.
Very good. All right, anything from the commissioners? Olivier?
Maybe just one comment, and I don't want to take too much time, but in laboratory practice, one of the things we do a lot is risk assessment and improvement and what can we do better. And I think, I don't know, with the last revision that we just do and seeing how incidents of events like that where we have to review again. And my question would be, is the historic district have any kind of way to approach new owner in the historic district and let them know, I mean, a letter or something when you know that someone else is coming in the district, because a lot of those houses needs major repair. It was my case 2 years ago. And the question there is there a way to approach them? Because it might be, and I don't know if it's in the language, but the historic district design guidelines, if you look at the language, it's really suggestive. I mean, you see a lot of encourage, should be, or not recommended, preferred, and other way. And I think for an owner that comes for a first time in a historic district and has no idea, sometimes it may just be that the person reads it and say, I have the option, it's suggested, it's preferred, and go ahead and do those repair without any historic area work permit. And I'm just thinking it might be just something we do, just a letter or something, if we are, conscious that someone is coming in the district and have a house that is targeted as need major renovation or major adjustment, and something that we could prevent that. So it's just a comment there that maybe there's something we can implement to avoid those. And it's sad to see that happening. So just a comment there about that. Otherwise, all's good.
Chris, this comes up every single time we have retroactive approval. At one point, we were suggesting that a document be signed and given to all the realtors, and that has to be required for any house purchase.
That actually did happen.
That did happen. Okay, so now
there's a major, well, not major, but there's an overall group that puts out the basic documents, draft documents that are used for both for proposals on purchasing a property, but then also on the closing documents. And we did ask for a change because it wasn't so clear as to whether even Gaithersburg had a historic district commission. And we asked for a change to clarify that, in fact, we do. So they do get notice. The problem is, in all fairness, sometimes the state's reaction to any sort of a problem in the purchase of a house is to require additional notice. As a result, for anybody who's purchased a house, there's an awful lot of notice that you receive. Mm-hmm. So yes, this notice is provided per our request, but per your request, I should say, that we did forward and had added. It took several months, but it happened. The problem is they get a lot of notices, and are they paying that much attention? So, but that's just the background.
Well, that's all. I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, that's all good news then, because that is at least a giant step in the right direction. The notice apparently is part of the package. When I purchased, I don't recall so much my house now, although there were documents for that, but I remember there was, when I did a townhouse many years ago, there was tons of documents that I had to sign.
Yes.
and to say that I received it. So is there a signature block on this HDC document that they receive?
If it's similar to the document, I purchased a property not in the city of Gaithersburg, but in Montgomery County, and I had to sign that the property was not within a historic district. So if the Gaithersburg document is similar to the Montgomery County document, then yes, you do have to sign.
Okay, then here's a suggestion. So that's, like I said, a giant leap. That's wonderful. In any retroactive review, can you get that document and make it part of the record?
Welcome to Bixby.
I don't believe it's possible to get that document. I don't know if Deputy City Attorney Johnson has any legal background on that.
Yeah. Well, the problem would be in terms of reviewing what you are reviewing for, even if it's a retroactive historic area work permit, the code as written now doesn't give you the ability to say, well, because it's retroactive, that's going to be a condition against you no matter what. I mean, it's fine there were comments tonight that retroactive is really not preferred, and I don't think anybody prefers that. That was entirely appropriate. But in looking at the four elements, quite frankly, you were all fairly careful to say, well, let's look, is this contributing? Does this help? What are the reasoning? And you were focused on the actual elements and because this is non-contributing, this is impacting, of course, does it impact other properties in the area? Is this having a negative impact? And for the two that you did, that was part of the focus. That's kind of where you are. So even if we were able to get it, we'd have to ask the applicant to provide it. We can always, you can certainly always ask that, but what is it going to get you would be the question. And in fact, part of the concern is if it's added into the record and then becomes more of an issue, if it's denied, you don't necessarily want to hand somebody an additional reason to look at an appeal. In this case, it was a property where you had to be lenient anyway. And so you were quite frankly, went through the process very well. It may be that if there is a way for the city to be aware of a property sale or of a new owner moving into a historic district, to me, that would be the key question, because then directly notifying somebody as they move in would be an effective way to underscore if you're going to be making any changes. And for many people, if they're going to make change, they're going to make it when they move in, not later always. That would be effective. I just don't know if that's practical or not. And that's really for Chris to say what he thinks.
Yeah, it's difficult because I'm not in the districts every day, and a property could have a sold sign on it and the owner can move in 6 months, or they can move in 6 days. So we don't know quite when they're moving in, but we do have a commissioner who lives in the Chestnut Beam Historic District. We do now have a commissioner who lives in the Brookes Russell Walker Historic District, who may be walking around and driving around these districts more often than me. So perhaps you, alternate Commissioner Cote, could keep an eye out for properties, not necessarily for sale, but if you see someone moving in, you could even approach them and give them the heads up on the requirements. I'll say that there's a property for sale in the district, and I've had extensive dialogue with the potential buyer. So usually it's instances like that where the realtor or the potential buyer will be calling me and asking what the requirements are. So it's frustrating when instances like this do happen, especially since I did have an extensive dialogue with the previous owners of this property before or while it was on the market. And we did go through the requirements for the roof. I talked to both the previous owners and their realtor, and they made it sound like they were going to handle the roof, which obviously didn't happen. So that was frustrating in this instance. But yeah, usually I do hear from the realtors, I do hear from the new property owners. But if we can have people on the ground who are actually, have knowledge of when people are moving in, that would be very helpful. And we could send a letter to them saying, here's the requirements, welcome to the city.
HTC welcome baskets handed out by Olivia and Mary Jo. Great. But yeah, I think to some degree, there is something to be said. We are doing our due diligence. We are, making it part of the closing documents to some degree. And yeah, I'm just as guilty as I'm sure everybody else is. I don't read as carefully as I should everything I'm signing at closing, but that's at my risk to some degree.
Okay.
That is true. That is true. It is the homeowner's risk to not understand his requirements. I have a question. It's like I said, it's a wonderful giant leap that there's a document now in the sale documents that require information on the HDC's information. Can we get it? So that must be filed with the city.
Yeah, I think I had provided it before. I'll have to go through because it's been several years and I can send it again, but you were provided.
So I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Are you saying that the city does get a copy of it when?
Yeah, I mean, the form, you have it. The city, because that's a matter of the closing documents and who gets notices and who's notified and all that. That would be a matter of, in terms of required notices going out to municipalities. We could always ask, but there'd be no way to mandate. If we were going to ask for that, we'd have to go through our delegation and have that added to state law. And I can't say that that would be very, very likely, because there are a number of other notices that then other folks would also have to, it's noticed the other way is what you're talking about. And I would just say right now, the law is not set up for that. It's set up to notify the new owner of their obligation.
Couldn't, you said state level, couldn't the city require it?
In terms of sales of properties like that, that is more of a requirement at the state level. The notice requirements, in other words, actually partly because of the way the law is set up in terms of buying and selling property, and also the state constitution does say that the city can't have laws that are inconsistent with what the state covers. And the state has, as we've been discussing, at a very detailed level, required all sorts of notices at closing. What we were able to do was enhance one that they do require, but that's put out by a realtor group that does comply with that. So it was a relatively minor change as opposed to adding to the notice requirements. It's not impossible, but we would really need to get a state law change to require that notice. It's not something the city could do just because of the very complete state regulation that already covers that area.
Okay. Is there anything in place that when a house gets sold, the city gets notified? I'm talking about any house in the city. Does the city not receive information on that? Because it's a tax-based issue. So I would think that that would be something that the city would be aware of or be made aware of, the sale of a house.
We receive information from the state, the taxation department, but those records, there's a lag from sales to when they're actually recorded. Sometimes it's 6 months.
Oh,
So we can't really rely on those for property transactions. It's more, visuals, when we're seeing people move in.
Yeah.
When I was there sometimes are better notices, but when I was a mayor of a different town in a different life, I was an elected official. I would actually go and welcome new residents who would move in. I would find out because we had our own water and sewer system. I would find out because a new applicant would be applying to our water service.
Yes.
Well, we are on WSSC, so we're really not part of that. I don't know whether we could coordinate with WSSC on that or not. We certainly make an inquiry, but my guess is they're not going to delineate as clearly between jurisdictions because they don't have to. So that would be one option. The only one I can think of is the one you brought up, which would be the finance, or certainly seeing the for sale sign in the community. And at that point, just having commissioners let us know. And then Chris would be able to send something out.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Wonderful thought, Mr. Cote, to bring up. All right. Any other thoughts from anybody else? Did everybody have a chance to speak? Mark, Rudy, John, throw in your thoughts. You have any other things to say? No?
I'm good.
Okay. We are hereby adjourned.